The shadows crept across the walls, their tendrils reaching out like gnarled fingers, almost as if they were alive, trying to grasp at Sebastian's sanity. He lay on his bed, eyes wide and bloodshot, staring into the abyss of his own tortured mind. It felt like he was trapped in a nightmare that wouldn't end. Sleep had long since abandoned him, leaving behind only the hollow echoes of madness. Memories of past failures swirled in his head, each one more haunting than the last. It was like a relentless loop, replaying every mistake he'd ever made. The silence of the night only amplified his thoughts, making it impossible to escape the chaos within. For days on end, Sebastian found himself lost in the maze of his own thoughts like a ship adrift in a stormy sea. Each hour dragged by, bringing with it new fears and anxieties that carved deep lines into his mind. The darkness wasn't just a shadow. It was a whispering presence, taunting him with memories of past failures and regrets. It felt like a relentless tide, pulling him under, and he couldn't escape its grip. He often recalled moments of joy that now felt like distant dreams, as if they belonged to someone else. The weight of it all was suffocating, and he wondered if he'd ever find his way back to the light. Phantoms danced in his peripheral vision, twisting and blending like smoke brought to life. Sebastian shut his eyes tight, desperate for them to disappear, but they lingered, etched into his mind with a terrifying clarity that he couldn't shake off. It was like they were taunting him, whispering secrets he didn't want to hear. The shadows felt alive, swirling around him, pulling him deeper into their haunting embrace. Every time he thought he was free, they crept back, reminding him of things he'd rather forget. It was exhausting, like running in place, and he couldn't help but wonder if he'd ever escape their grasp. The walls seemed to pulse and breathe, almost like the house itself was a living entity that wanted to swallow him whole. Sebastian clawed at his scalp, feeling the sweat trickle down his forehead, desperate to silence the relentless scratching that echoed in his mind. Was it rats? Or maybe something way creepier lurking in the shadows? He could almost picture it, dark shapes slithering just out of sight, whispering secrets he wasn't meant to hear. The air felt thick and heavy, like a storm was brewing inside his head, and he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was there was watching him, waiting for the right moment to strike. Time lost all meaning as Sebastian spiraled deeper into the abyss. Day and night blurred into a ceaseless twilight, and honestly, it felt like he was stuck in some kind of weird dream. The only thing breaking through this haze were those fleeting moments of clarity that hit him like a jolt of electricity, heightening his terror even more. He desperately craved the sweet embrace of sleep, but the thought of the nightmares lurking just beyond the veil of consciousness made his skin crawl. Those nightmares, they were like shadows creeping closer, whispering his fears in a language he couldn't understand. Each time he closed his eyes, he felt like he was teetering on the edge of a cliff, unsure whether he'd find peace or plunge into chaos. It was a roller coaster of emotions, you know? In those rare moments when his mind was clear, Sebastian found himself grappling with a tough question. Was he always this way, or had he just recently spiraled into madness? It felt like the line between what was real and what was just in his head was fraying, like an old rope ready to snap. He could almost feel the darkness creeping in, threatening to swallow him whole. Memories of laughter and light faded, replaced by shadows and whispers that made him doubt everything he once knew. The fear of losing himself completely was real, and it haunted him like a ghost. The mirror in Sebastian's bedroom was no ordinary glass. It had become a portal to unspeakable horrors. Each time he glanced into it, his reflection twisted and contorted, morphing into something both familiar and utterly alien. Sunken eyes stared back from hollow sockets, as if they held secrets too dark to share. His skin seemed to crawl, almost alive, like it was trying to escape the nightmare unfolding before him. It felt surreal, like he was trapped in a horror movie where the protagonist was him. The air grew heavy with dread, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to pull him in. Sebastian felt like he was slipping away from reality, you know? It was like he was stuck in a bizarre dream where everything felt off-kilter. The line between waking and dreaming was all blurred, and he was just floating in this chaotic sea of nightmarish images. Shadows swirled around him and whispers echoed in the empty corners of his mind, teasing him with secrets that felt way too heavy. Every turn brought a new fear, a fresh reminder of what he was trying to escape. It was seriously exhausting. He couldn't tell if it was just his imagination running wild or if something darker was lurking just below the surface. In the depths of his confusion, Sebastian found himself questioning everything, even if he'd ever truly been awake. Was this nightmare just a wild dream, one that would end soon, leaving him feeling whole again? You know that feeling when you wake up from a bad dream and you're just relieved it's over. That's what he craved. But even as a flicker of hope sparked inside him, the darkness crept closer, like a shadow ready to snuff out the last bits of his sanity. It was suffocating, like being trapped in a room with no windows, where every thought felt heavy and burdensome. Each moment stretched out, making him wonder if escape was even possible. What if he never woke up? Would he be stuck in this haze forever? If Sebastian's nightmares kept you up tonight, hit that like button to let us know. Want more tales that creep in after midnight? Subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss the next horror waiting in the dark. And tell us in the comments, how many nights could you last without sleep before you lost your mind?